person talking about love, thine brother is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of ChalkTalk. I am Jaron Carriage. I am doing my best to try and sound like I did not wake up an hour ago and I've actually finished puberty, which, you know, we'll see how that actually all goes. Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by 3 white guys who have better black guy voices than I do. So I'm going to do the best that I can. Real quick to get started here, what we're going to do is just kind of go around and give you a little bit of brief history on all of us, kind of how this all came together, how we got involved in strength sports, kind of what our experience levels are, what our background is, and kind of why you should pay attention to us in the first place. I don't really think that you should, but we'll see.
Probably just turn this
We'll see.
off
This
now.
is probably going to be a bunch of bullshit.
Save yourself half.
We're on like our 7th take, and we literally have accomplished nothing. It's been an hour and a half.
Yes. Hey, so I'm Adrian Larson from the Alpha Project, and I guess my claim to fame is benching 585 and 220 the same day weigh-in. It broke an all-time world record, and I kind of have this unique bench called the Larson press, where I don't use any leg drive, just hang the feet off the end of the bench. And I've been training for 20 plus years. That's all I got. Nothing too fancy.
Yeah, that's all right, I guess. My name's Jaron. I'm my claim to fame is I know Adrian. I bought a squat rack from him off of Craigslist, and the rest is history. It's a true story. I've been doing this for about 10 years now. I got started lifting back in high school. Got involved in coaching halfway through all of that. So I've been kind of in the industry for about a decade. I don't know what else to say right now.
You got your own gym.
I own a gym. Oh yeah, you should listen to me because I own a gym and I coach people for a living.
That's the secondary thought.
Damn it.
Oh yeah. But
Getting into online training, which we'll get into later,
Yeah.
but there's a guy that's actually said that he knew 10 world record holders. That's why you should choose him to be an online coach.
Well, that makes
Well,
sense.
I'm an online coach.
You basically know somebody that had an all-time record, and you own a gym.
And I forgot to mention it.
Which, by the way, this is a creepy gym. The whole upstairs of it.
Yeah, we're literally in like
This
the
is
storage attic of my gym. The gym is down below,
There's
which you
actually
can't
a
see
couch
here
over there.
because we did such a good job. As our lighting setup is trash bags taped over clamp lights from Home Depot.
I will say though, the carpet makes it feel less rapey.
Yeah,
The carpet does feel less rapey.
the walls totally look great.
Right.
The plywood on the ceiling's actually also made out of trash bags. We don't have electricity. I'm somewhat scheduled for like a fire inspection this week, so if this gets shut off halfway through, it's because I might be getting fined.
And
So.
Fire Marshal, if you watch this, this is a beautiful studio.
Yeah,
Everyone's
we were
wired
It's
for it.
fantastic.
It's all
It is all up
Tip
to code.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jeff, tell us what you haven't done.
Well, what I
I
have
just thought of a lot more good
is,
things about myself.
Yeah, I'm Jeff, and I've been lifting since I was, I don't know, for like the last 20 years or something, and
How old are you?
34.
Oh.
And then I did MMA for a while, and then I got out of that. Then I got fat, and I decided since I was fat, I didn't want to get lean again, so I'll just get stronger. So then I just started competing in powerlifting and strongman. In powerlifting, I have a 1945 raw total. I have had a 805 raw squat, a 440 or something bench. I don't know.
Ooh.
Yeah, basically, look out, Adrian.
Shit.
I'm coming for you. At 308 pounds, I bench 440. Like, look out. But my
I'm so much better about myself.
my big thing that I do is strongman, and strongman's my main focus. I've been coaching strongman now for just over a year, and I've been competing in strongman for 4 years. I've been to nationals I've qualified for nationals every year. I try to compete all over the place, and I really enjoy strongman. It's just a lot of fun, and it's actually like picking up stuff and moving with it instead of just being able to lay on a bench and lift weights. You actually have to pick up weights and move with it, so it's a little bit more challenging. It's a little bit of fun, but
I love
you know.
the bar.
That's basically
I
cardio.
don't know about that.
And I'm also a CrossFit level 1 coach.
Oh my
so
Oh,
I
how much you wall, dude?
so much weight. I
What's your
basically
wad?
My favorite wad. Well, I mean, I just did Isabel,
He
which
didn't
is
even
a
miss the joke. He
I
told me
know,
that's a joke.
I know.
He's too in it.
I love
He's in
wads.
too deep.
my
So let's say hypothetically we all got together around the table, and like we all tried to wad the fastest.
You're right.
Would you win?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh man.
My
So-
fastest wad is about a minute and 15 seconds.
So we don't play mushy cookie with
Oh
you.
no, I
No.
well, I mean, I guess it depends on which way you want to win, because
All right.
I lose, because generally I want to get the cookie, but I'm always the first one done, so.
All right.
Alright, hey, my name's Josh. My claim to fame is I'm Adrian's brother, basically. My background has nothing to do with weightlifting, has to do with sports though. I've coached high school level baseball, high school level swimming, I've coached soccer, I've coached football, I've coached anything you can name it. I've coached it, played rugby, played all different types of sports. Basically, I'm here because I'm the everyday man sort of thing. I'm also the ESPN sort of guy. I know who Magnus Vert Magnuson is. I also know who the Spider is from the pool shooting. So I'm here just to make
don't
these
even
two
know what
donuts.
that
Yeah, does not look so bad.
You just named like 8 sports that have nothing to do with anything we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I got-
that was a good idea.
1997 Water Polo
Yeah.
Championship. Seen that shit on TV.
Are you kidding me? I was a water polo player.
I played water polo too.
Did you?
I feel like I want my turn back because I've done more than that. Even a guy who doesn't do anything, he's got like, oh, listen, I watched TV one time and I ordered pay-per-view.
It's called preparation. We do this little stuff before we start recording. But
I did not. I was busy duct taping lights to the ceiling.
That's fair enough.
Well, you did put these garbage bags over these lights too.
That's true.
So we got kind of interesting stories about like how kind of I think I've got to know all of you. Obviously, I've known you forever since you were born. But kind of the interesting thing between me and Josh is we've always been super competitive. Like we used to play all levels of sports growing up, and kind of being the older brother, I handed it to him like every chance I got.
Every single time.
And even to the spot sometimes where he'd get so mad he'd quit. He'd be like, "Screw it, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore." And now watching him play sports, you see how competitive he is now. Like growing up that way, we talked about it several times. Like how much that's helped him in his life. Not even just playing sports, but in everything. Just kind of being that dick brother of pushing him around.
Well, it's hands down. It makes it easy because for me, I have to be better than you.
Yeah.
That's the way I was born. That's the way I was raised. I have to be better than you. I don't care what you do. I don't care about your 585. I'll drop 200 on my chest all day. Like, you know what I mean? But I will do what I can in every aspect of life to do better than you.
Yeah.
That's just the way I was raised.
So then Jeff, I go into the gym one day. Jeff rolls in with his dad. They were doing some strongman powerlifting training, and I was like, "Oh my god, who's this knucklehead?" He's got the funny hairdo. He's
It's back in
shaved
like
off
the
his
mohawk
head.
and the
Yeah. He's this big guy, and it seemed to me like he was always overtraining. And Jeff's a big guy, so going up to him was a little bit intimidating. I didn't know him that well at first.
How'd you make any gains? You train so much.
And so, throughout, probably about a 6-month period, we started talking. We were in the gym at the same times, and, you realize how genuinely of a good guy he is, and how willing he is to spend time with, new lifters or even experienced lifters and say, hey, this is the type of experience that I've gone through, and, this is how I can help you. I think it's just kind of a cool story, because a lot of people look at you and be like, oh, I don't want to talk to that guy. And, but I think when people sit down and actually talk to you, they realize, how squared away you are and how genuinely a really good guy you are.
Well, I think that's kind of a lot of how the strength community is. Like, I had been coaching people and lifting and training and like squat bench instead. Was basically powerlifting for quite a while, and just never actually competed. Never really kind of thought about it. My background is more in bodybuilding. I came from that. Right? It's okay. It's all right. It's fine. It's all right.
Sorry.
It's cool.
We can edit that part out.
I still have a wife. She's totally a girl and everything. Vagina boobs are my favorite. Totally my favorite. Fun story with that. We started dating back when I was in my prep for my first bodybuilding show. And so, like, our full, like, first couple dates, I'm packing Tupperware. I'm literally that asshole with, like, a spinach salad tucked into my shirt. We went to Macaroni Grill, which is clearly carbs. And she ordered her meal. This is, like, our second or third date. And I ordered a plate and water. And the waitress is like, what? I was like, no, I'm good. I just actually use a plate, like maybe a fork or something. And then she left, came back, brought her food back, and I'd already dumped my food onto the plate. So the fact that I ended up coming out of that with a wife still is kind of nice.
Wow.
But, right? Makes you respect her a whole lot more. But one of the things that kind of really caught me as I got into my first meet, I saw you there. Mm-hmm. You were running around and stomping and screaming. I was like, this is fucking insane. Just, ah! From the warm-up area. No. Like, he'd be like, oh, they're calling up. You could be in the bathroom taking a shit, and you just come out of the bathroom. Ah!
I do that when I go into the bathroom, too. You got to scream in the toilet. I didn't know what was coming.
And I think that was, you squatted like 805 or something that day. And I was like, that was the most I'd ever seen somebody lift before. I was like, this is fucking awesome. But then, like, everybody back behind everything was helping me out. I was like, what's a knee wrap? And I think I met Greg, and he's like, oh, they're good. They'll help you. I was like, yeah, they hurt too much. I don't want to use them. He's like, you'll probably want to someday. But that's kind of what I think a lot of people don't understand about the strength community is they assume that, everybody's big and scary, intimidating, or an asshole. Yeah. And really, it's the people who aren't actually that strong and can't do anything that are the assholes. And that's just kind of a cool insight.
I think that's partly why sometimes the weightlifting community gets that bad reputation is you have average people that go to a 24-hour fitness or some average gym, and you see that one dickhead walking around strutting with his headphones in, grabs a curl bar, and does one of these big curls with his back and everything. And you look at that guy like, oh, what a prick. Yeah. People don't really get to see when you guys, in the nicer gyms that you guys go to in your own personal gym, see the way that everybody does work together, lifts together. Just doing a few little trainings with Adrian, I had people I had no idea come up and be like, hey, make sure your elbow's up. Checking on my form, just little things helping me out. And that's a nice thing. It really, really helps out.
Well, it really is a big community where everybody's trying to help each other out and are supportive for each other. That being said, if I'm getting ready for a lift, I do go put my headphones on and get a little bit crazy.
Absolutely.
But then after my lift, I'll just start smiling and going back to, just dancing and being silly.
Like in our last meet up in Tacoma, we were talking shit in between lifts and, talking about how you're doing CrossFit and, kind of making fun of you and stuff. And it was a little bit more relaxed instead of, hey, this is so serious. You got to have a little bit of fun with it. There's times, when I went to break the all-time record, I was very serious. I put my headphones in and a hoodie on, and, Courtney kind of just hovered around to make sure nobody would come up and, I was so focused, that, I was literally having nightmares about failing breaking that record. Right. And so, when I got to that spot where it was time to break the record, I kind of needed to be by myself a little bit. But for the most part, when we go to competitions, it's all about having fun and talking shit to everybody.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, though. There is this whole kind of attitude of like, oh, there's the big guys over there. Like, I remember when my first meet that I went to, I sat there like looking over at like the big lifters and being like, oh man, like it'd be cool to go like hang out with those guys. Like,
I don't want to piss them off.
And you just like sit there over in your corner, just kind of like, oh man, those guys are scary. And then, it was one day I just kind of was at a meet, it was really at the Tacoma meet, where I'm just sitting there getting ready, talking with you and stuff, and it's like, I looked over and I saw all the guys just kind of standing there staring at us the same way I used to stare at them. And so I went over and introduced myself and talked with them, because it was like, we're all a community. We're all here to help each other out. And at the end of the day, most of these meets we're doing, it's a retail business. You're going to have fun. You're paying money to go lift in a contest. It's not like you're going to make a bunch of money going and breaking a record or something. We're paying money to go like hang out and go work out together and go put on a show and try to entertain the crowd and stuff. And I think that's that's one of the reasons why I get all my big screams and everything. It's trying to entertain the crowd and bring out that entertainment factor.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, I guess before we get into the online coaching portion of this, I think we should talk about our sponsors, kind of maybe what they've done for us. Our first sponsor is Mark Bell and the Slingshot. If you don't know who Mark Bell is or who the Slingshot is or how to use a slingshot, just go back in your hole, close the door, and forget about it.
You're probably not even listening to this.
Yeah.
Do you even lift?
You can go to
internet.
You can go to www.howmuchyoubench.net. He's got the gangster wraps, the knee sleeves, the elbow sleeves, slingshot protein. I'll tell you, Mark gave me some of the protein to try, and it was probably the best protein I've ever had. And I'm not saying
that's
that
really good.
for any other reason. I mean, I don't get nothing out of this, but that protein is the best protein I've ever had.
A couple plugs. Hey, make sure to follow me at Jay Larson.
We're not plugging ourselves here. You are not a sponsor.
Are you kidding me?
You are not a
You gotta
sponsor.
plug everything.
We are not done. We will get to that. We'll put that at the end.
So when nobody's paying attention,
Right.
When they've all turned it off.
And stuff.
I don't see you getting us anything. You did duct tape some of the lights.
I
though.
mean,
that
I'm
was
pretty
nice.
good with duct tape.
We're also going to thank Viso Energy Drink because I have a caffeine addiction. I have a
Basically,
hard.
you're useless without a little bit. Of
I am
caffeine.
useless without a little bit of caffeine, and I'm only this far in, which explains everything that I've said so far today. Maybe like by the time we get to this level, I'll say something of some value. I think.
Yeah.
Highly
Check them out
recommend.
at drinkviso.com.
That's it.
Yeah, drinkviso.com. It's on the bottle.
They
If I had
actually,
drank more of it, I would have seen it.
they actually got a bunch of stuff on their website. It's pretty cool to check out.
It's a nice little site.
Yeah.
Local company too. Portland
Mhm.
born, Portland raised. Portland's
Yeah.
built it up. It's a great product.
This honestly is the. I've drank a lot of caffeine. I have a high tolerance to
I have
caffeine and
abused
stuff.
many a stimulant in my day.
But for me, this, like, honestly though, Viso is the stuff that, like, I drink it and I still can get a little bit of like a rush off it and still get a little bit of energy. Where, I can drink like other stuff all the time and just be like, yep, okay, just sipping on water.
Well, here's the thing. Here's kind of the thing I've noticed is, especially with like pre-workout mixes, typically have a ton of fillers in it, right?
Right.
And so maybe it tastes okay, but you don't really know what you're putting in your body. And with Viso, kind of what turned me on with them is having all the nutrients and stuff in it, the vitamins. It tastes good. Kind of tastes like flavored water in a sense, so
Yeah.
it's easy to drink. You
It's
don't
not
get that,
super
like,
sweet.
Yeah,
doesn't
you
make
don't get that full feeling. But then it does jack you up pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's why I personally like it, and it's good
I'm a
for me.
fan. I've been drinking this stuff for a couple of years.
Well, let's talk about online coaching.
Let's talk about online coaching.
One of the things I've noticed kind of over the last, I don't know, maybe 12 months or so is online coaching being very present, like on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social networks. Like, what do you guys think about online training? Do you think it's like, what would be the good and the bad about having an online coach?
I've done some online coaching before. I won't specifically drop names of some people that I've had write programming for me. I've had it work out okay. I did have one guy kind of write my first actual training program, an actual peaking program, and that was nice because it helped me get a good base. It helped me get some structure to what I was doing instead of kind of like working up to a max something and then adding some other things, which is kind of what I was doing at the time. So it was nice to get that structure, but it was not necessarily, now that I'm looking backwards, not really much different than me just buying an ebook and just figuring shit out by myself.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of interesting to watch that kind of take over, especially a lot of it I think is now because of Instagram. Because you've got online coaches, but then you've got like Instagram online coaches, and we'll spend some time talking about that too. But the thing is, a lot of it is just way too easy to get famous, just based on growing a following, and people automatically assuming that because you have so many followers that you're credible and that you're going
That
to
you know what you're doing.
program. Yeah.
So I'm going to do the best I can to keep names out of this, right? Because I don't want to hurt people's feelings.
I guess
but
we should probably
I have a ton of examples.
delete that one. I will delete this one.
All right.
I know. I was like, then this one time with.
Well, I have a ton of examples of, even like the guy that said that he knew or communicated with 10 world record holders, so you should trust his online programming. It's like it's a joke. It's almost like, hey, look at me, this is what I can do for you. But then you're giving that person money. And I don't understand that. You have, for instance, one of the things that really pisses me off is you see one female lifter in particular that is a geared lifter, right? And she, even as a geared lifter, hasn't really done anything all that impressive. You're kind of just like, that's kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
But she is now training people online for a very high-priced amount of money to do raw lifting. And I've talked to a couple of her clients, and they're like, I don't really know why I'm doing some of this stuff because it doesn't make sense. Because a lot of it is geared towards gear type lifting, but like I don't know why it's just the name. People keep going back to, oh, it's this person, so it's got to be legit because she's got a good total. But what you don't understand is she's in a 6-ply, gear. You know what I mean? Gassed out of her mind.
Yeah.
And it's not impressive lifts. So I don't know. I think a lot of it, like you said, has to do with the name and how much you're present on Facebook. I personally do online coaching, and I'm kind of a mixed bag with it. I don't know if I want to continue doing it or maybe stop, because it's really difficult. It's a difficult thing to make sure you're doing the right thing, and the people that you're coaching are, they're getting the most out of it as they possibly can.
And that's kind of what my thought on the online coaching is I think to a point the online coaching, like writing programs for people, because I've done a little bit of it, like written programs for people, writing a program for somebody who already knows what to do. And you've worked with them before, it's a little bit easier to be like, hey, I want you to do this. But I don't necessarily think that a brand new person should jump into online coaching because you don't get that hands-on experience. Like, your squats could be absolutely horrible.
Oh, but I did.
But it's like I did my 5 sets of 3, and then I went over. They had me doing split squats, and it's like, okay, I want you to do Bulgarian split squats. Well, what is that? Yeah. Are you set up right? Are you going through it right? Is everything looking good on it? So I think that in my opinion, I feel that like if you've been doing it for a while and you kind of know the movements and you've worked with that coach before. Like I've had athletes that like have left and gone to other states and stuff.
I've done that.
And it's
too,
like, hey, you've worked with me. You know what I like to do. Here, I'll write up some routines for you. But to just grab somebody new and be like, here, let me write my routines for you. It's kind of like, do you know what are you doing exactly what I want? And I mean, sure, they can do videos and like do video correspondence and stuff and send you a video of their lifts. But it's like, okay, sure, from this angle it looks good. But is it still good on this angle? Is it still good over there?
And then talking about like your type of training and being a little bit of an overtrainer, right?
Right.
There takes a lot that plays a part into being able to train like that.
The rest of your life has to be done.
Rest, water. I mean, people don't understand. You walk around with what, a 3-gallon jug of water?
I have 2-gallon jugs, so I have 4 gallons of jugs.
Yeah.
4 gallons of water
of jugs.
Yeah, 4 gallons of jugs.
You got jugs, but that's the amount that it takes for you to be able to train at that level, right? You're not the guy that's going to McDonald's, drinking coffee all day, and then going and getting shit-faced at nighttime, and then waking up at 4 in the morning and training for the next 4 hours.
Well, and that's kind of like what Jaron's talking about the prepping. Like that's what I do. Like I cook all of my food. I have all my food in like little containers.
Why doesn't it look like it?
Why are you doing that?
Well, it's probably because of the fact that I eat probably like 12,000 calories a day.
You really, or are you just saying that?
No, I do.
Oh, that's cool, I guess.
I've seen it eat. It's crazy.
Well, I think too, a lot of it will depend on back to the online coaching away from the eating schedule, but goes into how much effort that coach actually puts in to the online. Adrian was talking about off the air about how he works for an hour and a half writing up these programs for people. He calls them 3 days a week. That's where you're going to be able to get that little more personal touch. When you get some of these other guys who just mass produce, and this is generic gentleman who weighs this weight, so I'm going to have him do, lift set B, and you just email it off and you don't talk to him, you don't get that connection, you don't get that, I feel good, the feedback and the feeling good about what you're doing, because you're just getting generic stuff sent at you. If you get a guy who takes the time, personally writes something up for you, gives you a call, hey, did you get your ass in the gym today? No, why not? Someone kind of riding you a little bit, that's where you're going to get at least some more benefit out of it. Don't make fun of my gravelly voice just because I don't talk all high pitch.
Well, I think too, just to kind of follow up with that is, some of these people, I think that are looking for online coaches are just needing that extra push, right? Like, hey, Courtney used to do online programming. She would get it from Olympic lifter coaches, and it just kind of made it so that she felt obligated to go in, follow a routine. If she felt like shit, she didn't just leave early and just say, screw it, I'm out of here. She actually had to stick through it. So I can see it from that sense. But I don't know, maybe we can talk a little bit about like, if you're a new lifter, like what's the kind of stuff you should be looking at? Like what direction should you head to? You have Facebook, you have all these sites. When I first started, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't have Facebook or Instagram to look on whose total was over $2,000 to see if they could be my online coach. It was like, you met up with a group of guys that you hoped were smart enough to get you as strong as you could get. I was fortunate enough to train with a bunch of good guys, but if you're a brand new lifter, like Josh, if you decided, hey, I'm going to take up powerlifting tomorrow, what would be your first route? I mean, what would you do?
Well, I think, because a lot of the people that I coach, and I've taken a good number of people from what's a barbell to some pretty respectable numbers in a decent amount of time. And kind of the biggest part of my coaching philosophy is it's not so much the what you do, it's the how. And for the majority of people that walk into my gym, that, you know, even if they have trained for several years, whatever, I put way less priority on what their program is and put more emphasis on how they're doing the movements, what the movement looks like, and actually mastering the skill of doing a lift. And I think what's difficult is that's not the popular thing to say.
Right.
And it's not the easy thing to sell. It's not easy for me to be like, oh yeah, cool, well yeah, of course I can sell you a program, but you don't really need a fucking program. What you need is, sorry, that's the first F-bomb of the show. So.
Fuck it.
Oh,
Turn it off. Turn it off.
I tried so hard. I just let down my entire
Sorry,
family.
Slingshot.
Sorry,
Fuck it.
Miso. Well, so, now we can start.
Now we can get
It's the
real.
caffeine and the
There you go,
vodka.
it's kicking in.
But I think that's the difficult part as like a consumer or as a new lifter is as you're looking around to these people doing things that you admire, you know, setting good totals or just looking how you want to look, and you're like, oh, that person must know exactly what I should be doing. I got started into bodybuilding because there was a big, huge guy and I was like, dude, I want to be huge too. What do I do? And he's like, 6,000 calories a day. You need 900 grams of carbs, 400 grams of fat, 500 grams of protein. I was like, okay, yeah, all right, done. So I went to the store and I was putting down like 3 of those dog bags full of mass gainer and putting on 2 pounds a week. Like, I turned into a fat sack of shit. But that's because
Much has changed.
you're supposed to love me for what's on the inside. But kind of in the same way, it's the same thing, right? So we pick somebody based on the wrong characteristics to answer the questions that we shouldn't be asking. The question that you ask as a new lifter is not how many sets of 3 to 5 should I be doing, it's how do I perform the lift correctly.
Yeah.
And setting the stage for that as a new lifter is going to be what allows you to continue training for, 10, 20 years without major injuries, or actually continue to make progress instead of just plateauing out because your technique is shit and you just keep trying to stack more weight on the bar.
You think it could be something for maybe a lifter that's dead set, right? They've listened to this entire thing. They say, fuck it, I'm not going to do my research. I'm not going to, do anything. I'm just going to get an online coach now. Is it reasonable to say, hey, if I do your 12-week program and I don't see the results that I should be seeing, I want my fucking money back. Or maybe I'll only give you half my money now, and I'll give you the rest at the end of the 12 weeks.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Why wouldn't that be fair?
Because you can't guarantee a specific outcome based on a program that you write, especially for somebody that you're not actually working with. I'll tell even people that I do work with, I was like, look, what I'm going to give you right now, and this is for nutrition or training or what have you, this is my best educated guess based on my experience, based on the intake process that I have with somebody new, what I've seen from them on the floor, what I know about them, and what I've learned in the last 10 years of working with a couple hundred different people.
Yeah.
That's the best that I can do the first time out the gate. Everything after that is learning how to fine-tune things based on what we see.
Well, and there's
And-
also that thing of, you're not there with that person, so you don't necessarily know where their stresses are, or how their day was at work, or how much sleep are they getting, like how much rest how much are they actually recovering? Because I feel that that's one of the big things that most, as we were talking about, me being the overtrainer, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't think about is the amount of time you actually need for recovery. So if I'm in the gym killing myself for 6 hours, and then I go out drinking with my buddies, and I go sleep for 2 hours, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna go back to the gym the next day. Guess what? I ain't gonna be there for 6 hours. I ain't gonna lift I'm gonna lift like crap. And whatever I did the 6 hours the day before is gonna basically amount to nothing because I just destroyed all of my gains.
I
Missed the
think too-
anabolic window.
Right.
What you should have done is drank in the 30 minutes
Right,
after
right.
training.
Well, I think too, if you have a guy, if someone like me goes into the gym and I have an online coach, I'm going to be a guy with a sheet of paper in front of me, and I'm going to be walking around, okay, this is the next thing I'm going to do. And that intensity, at least for the first couple of weeks, really isn't going to be there.
Right.
As a coach, you're going to be expecting people to go out and give it 100%. But if I don't have that guy behind me saying, hey, let's go, push it a little bit, I don't have Adrian standing there telling me, do better than me, it's going to be easy for me to do it just a little bit lighter, and my form might be a little off on whatever it is I'm doing. So it'd be hard to guarantee that you're going to have results through an online coach because it all depends on you on that end. If you're doing the online coach, you don't have that motivation. You have to have that push. You have to have that drive. And for some people, they do have that drive, and that works out perfectly for me. If I did an online coach or with an online coach, it wouldn't work at all. I don't have the greatest ton of push unless I really need it. I used to be about 320. I had a push to drop 100 pounds in 6 months because I was fat and I wanted to meet girls. It's tough watching your buddies come around with all these hot girls, and then you're like, all right, well, nobody's talking to that girl. So you had that motivation.
I hope your wife doesn't listen to this about how you got laid because you lost a bunch of weight.
I'm never saying I got laid. No, that was a whole
That never
struggle.
happened.
I'm still a nerd, so that's a struggle. But you have to have that extra motivation, and for me, if I was somebody to get a trainer, I want that guy to be right behind me and to call me a pussy and to tell me to go harder, to do more. Well, if I had you saying that, I might run just a little faster. But, so it's just hard with that online to get that motivation pushed across. You really have to go above and beyond to make that work. And then at that point, you might as well just be there in person, really, unless you know the person.
Yeah, that's the other thing is even though I do crazy stupid training, whenever I start training with somebody for the first time, I'm not going to just have somebody walk into the gym and be like, this is what I did today, you're going to do it too. Because, it's just going to break them. They're going to get injured, they're not going to be able to perform. And, I've been lifting this way for years. So my work capacity is built up. My joints can handle it. My body can take it. I'm not going to just grab you and be like, all right, we're going to go do, 500 reps of squats. Get under the bar. We're going with 500 pounds. Go.
Call Guinness Book of World Records.
But
We're coming for you.
That's just going to break you. So I think there's a certain aspect of you got to look at who you're going to for an online coach and what they're looking at doing, because you've got to balance it and try to figure out that, does your coach know that, hey, I'm just starting out? And your coach needs to be able to modify things for a first-time lifter. And, I think that's kind of the thing you need to look at when you're looking for an online coach is, are they going to make it, easy for me? Or are they just going to be like, well, I want you to go ahead and you're going to start out, you're just going to do 10 sets of 10 of squats in 5 minutes. Go.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Or even equally so, setting somebody in there who's already second-guessing everything they're doing, and they're like, all right, so what we need you to do today, this is our speed day, we need you to work on, 10 sets of 3, I need you to be roughly 63.25% of your max. I was like, I don't know my max, figure it out. So what I need you to do is I need you to squat that for 10 and plug it in this 10 rep max calculator, figure out that max, plug it into 62.3%, 10 sets of 3, 47 seconds of rest between sets, go. And you're going to turn people...
I listened to 2 things you just said. The rest of it
We need to move this out of you.
Sorry.
You're done.
You give it back.
You're cut off.
We talk about percentages like that, right? And a lot of people like to use those percentages and say, hey, go do 65% of your max or go do 85% of your max. Do it for doubles or triples or whatever. That percentage changes every workout. We talk about, how you feel. There's variables every single day you wake up, right? I don't train the days I go to work. I used to do that, but I would be up for 13 and a half hours before I ever made it to the gym. I've eaten like shit. I've hardly drank any water. I don't feel good, but I was still trying to push myself when I worked out. My percentages during those workouts were far less than what they are when I get 10 hours of sleep. I ate, really well the night before. I haven't had any alcohol, whatever.
Yeah.
The stresses in life aren't there. You don't have the stress of work or, whatever. Those variables aren't into play. So that percentage is going to change all the time. So you can't just look at, okay, I do 585 is my max. 65% of this is this. There's days I walk into the gym and 550 is my max.
Right.
So that 65% is different. There's days I go in there and I feel like I could do more than 585. So that percentage is different. And I don't know if that's explained good enough to beginner lifters.
Well, I don't know that they even have the experience to be able to make those kinds of calls, because when you're fresh off the boat, so to speak, you don't have the experience level to be able to tell, today this feels like a 8 or a 9 out of 10 difficulty for me, but my coach said and he knows better and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I need to be lifting this particular weight. And that's one of the reasons that even with people that I coach here, I don't prescribe specific weights. I'll give a range. If we're using a percentage, it's more as a guideline.
Yeah.
If we want to be working at 90% on a heavy bench day, it's like a 9-ish difficulty. Leave a rep in the tank. Could probably get a third grinder. Let's get to whatever that weight is. And part of that warm-up process and part of what I do as a coach is I watch how those warm-ups are looking to figure out what that weight's going to be.
Right.
Because a lot of times you end up having to pull the reins back on somebody to keep their ego in check more than just push them.
Well, and
I think
that's exactly the thing that you start to run into with online coaching. When you start to just write a prescribed workout for you, like, I want you to do this today, you're going to do this, and you're not there to watch them doing their warm-ups. You're not there to coach them through it and be like, you know what, okay, like a lot of times when I'll write training for my athletes and I'll have them come in, I'm like, okay, I want you to do this. And I generally don't tell them the whole routine because I don't want them to...
Exactly.
Like, I want them to use their max energy for this lift, and then the next lift we're going to, it's like, well, you burned out here, but you still got to do this. But if I watch somebody and they're, benching, and their bench is like... it's like, okay, we're not going to go like crazy today on this. We're going to modify what we're doing today because you got to gauge what your athletes are capable of. And you can see in their lifting as an experienced coach how they look, how they should be lifting, what they should be lifting in their like kind of weight ranges and stuff. And you get that more experience as you've been working with them for longer. And I just see, that's one of my big drawbacks on the online coaching is that you can't have that hands-on coaching where you're sitting there watching them and your coach, you don't have the guy yelling at you and, riding on you and like screaming at you and stuff and like getting after you. So but that being said, there is a benefit of you live in Nebraska. You can go ahead and get, Adrian Larson to help coach you and, stuff like that. And I feel that that's the plus side of online coaching, but that's where I say that, that's why I was saying that I think that the online coaching is a better tool for a more experienced lifter than somebody just starting out lifting.
And that's kind of where I think it has its place because I could see myself getting a lot of value from online coaching and like you're not local, but I've gotten the base structure of kind of what to do with, with a lot of my bench programming. I know enough with my experience to kind of like pick apart and I can then, get reference from you to be able to utilize that program in an intelligent way.
Right.
And I don't know that somebody who hasn't at least had, several years under their belt of training is going to be able to make those same calls to actually maximize a program. And I think that's where kind of the line in the sand is as far as online coaching is. It's, probably a really great tool for somebody with more experience or somebody to go, from intermediate to far intermediate, further intermediate, but not necessarily to go from what's a barbell to out of newbie land.
Yeah.
You know what the most difficult thing is for me with like coaching people is the guy that is in his early 40s and has been training for the last 25 years, but has done it based on like what he learned in high school, right?
Oh, God,
let's do 3 sets of 10, elbows flared. We're gonna squat this way. Working with those guys are the most challenging, right? The one thing that I fail to see enough of is asking the question why. This is what baffles me, is talking with somebody, especially maybe somebody who's been around for 20, 25 years training, and say, okay, I want you to go do this, then follow with this, then do this, and then next week it'll be this, and you never hear why. Why am I doing it this way? So like with the Alpha Project, I have it set up where you front load your workout. So you get a little bit of volume in, right, to kind of get warmed up, right? And then you move into benching at a certain percentage. I fail to ever hear the question why. I never hear it. Why do we do that? And so I wonder, sometimes is it just something where it's like somebody's just got to tag, hey, I went to Starbucks today. Hey, I went to the gym. I hit beast mode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One
Like,
person to beast mode.
yeah. Is it one of those things where it's just like, hey, I get to update my status as I went to the gym and killed it, or are we really worried about what kind of training we're getting out of this? I mean, why has got to be every week. It should be, why am I doing this? Why am I not getting as strong as you? Why am I taking in this much protein?
Right.
Well,
I think you're right though, and I mean, when it comes to picking an online coach, I think that you're absolutely right in that. If your coach can't answer that why, like, hey, I want you to do reverse grip curls for 5,000 reps, to get that pump.
Right.
Well, why am I doing that? How is that going to make me better? What is the carryover to any of my other things that I'm trying to do? Why do you want me to do this? And if you ask your coach, hey, why do you want me to do this? And they're just like, because I said so, go do it. Then that's probably not the right coach.
Here's a prime example of a guy that I do coaching for currently. He actually just got done having shoulder surgery. He's going to be out for a few months. He hit up a pretty well-known lifter, and his program might rhyme with pube. But stop giggling. Just hear me out. So he hits this guy up and says, you know, I train in my garage, and so I don't have a liftoff person. You know, what do you suggest I do? How can I get over this? And instead of saying, okay, well, have one of your buddies come over, feed him dinner, and have him lift off for you.
Yeah.
He says, I unracked 315 by myself, so you should probably be able to do that also. This guy's max is 315, right? This other person's max is in the high 500s. So percentage-wise, we're talking a huge difference. This guy ends up unracking, you know, 295, 300, injures his shoulder, comes to me, and I start working with him, like, oh, dude, that's the dumbest idea you've ever had. Hey, go tell one of your buddies you'll cook him dinner, or you'll buy him pizza, or you'll buy him lunch or something, and have him come over and spot for you one day a week. And then he started progressing, and now he's got to have shoulder surgery because of this. But that, like, asking why, if he would have said, why is this okay, maybe he would have got the answer that he was looking for, but he didn't ask why, and now he's paying the price for it. I think also some of these so-called big-time lifters or people that are popular on social media, that there's a lot more that goes into them just going to the gym and lifting. And I think sometimes their arrogance comes out as, oh, yeah, I got a 2,100 pound total at the fat weight class, and you know, whatever.
You feel pretty called out.
I do. I feel good.
Wow.
But
Kind of messed up.
I think sometimes they take that they're on Facebook nonstop as, oh, this must be legit, and what he's doing is legit. Whereas really, he's probably in the basement of his grandma's house because he doesn't have a job, so he's on Facebook all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, social media has really done that because, I mean, people are kind of forgetting the fact that any asshole can have a podcast.
Clearly.
So what happens
America!
is all this social media, yeah, that guy is blown up on Facebook. So the reason, you know, generic guy doesn't ask why is, well, because he does all this other stuff in the gym. Why do I have to ask him why? And that's one of the biggest mistakes. Because, again, anybody can go on Facebook, make their page. Anybody can have Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. You can buy a microphone, plug it into a computer, and say whatever you want. But
America.
but you have to, you know, when you start asking those whys is when you're going to really see the difference between somebody who takes the time, cares, does the work themselves, compared to somebody sitting in mom's, you know, basement, chilling, eating Funyuns.
I think that's exactly where a lot of the responsibility comes back on the lifter themselves too, and not being lazy. Like, I look at not wanting to ask a lot of questions and not trying to pick apart a program and treat it like an educational experience as just laziness. Because when it comes down to it, we all have to take ownership of whatever our training is, and this applies to life, not just this. But you're responsible for the work that you put in and the results that you get and what you learn along the way. And when you hire a coach, their job is to help kind of point the gun a little bit, but you need to be paying attention to what the hell is going on and trying to actually absorb some of their knowledge and their experience to apply and make your own decisions in the future. And I think a lot of people, the same as, you know, paying for a gym membership means I'm going to get in shape, will pay for online programming from a coach because if he gives me this roadmap, all I have to do is follow this one fucking thing and I'm not going to pay attention to anything else, and I better be an elite level lifter at the end of the program or I want my money back. That's a pretty entitled, arrogant attitude to have. Instead of saying, you know what, I want to learn how to be the best that I can at this thing, and you know what, I've reached the end of what I'm capable of learning on my own, and I want to seek the experience of somebody who's done more than I have, who has a proven track record of coaching people that have done things that I can't do, and whose knowledge base I want to have. And you have to be able to put in the time and the effort and actually try and learn something. Instead of just expecting it to be handed to you. Even though you're going to put in the work and hashtag beast mode it, you're not putting in the work if you don't actually learn anything about the program that you're following.
Sure. So you think maybe if somebody's deciding they're going to start online training, maybe just asking people through some of the social media, like, hey, if anybody's done this particular program, hit me up and let me know what you think about it, good or bad. You know, because I want to get legit. Because I think one thing, people having their own testimonials, right? You can pay to have your own testimonial.
Right.
I've seen people do that. Hey, here's Ed Cohn, and I gave him a free T-shirt or whatever, and now he's going to say, you know, my online programming is the best. And
You can do that?
I think you might be able to. And I'm just giving you an example. I'm not blasting anybody out there.
Ed, I'm going to email you.
Yeah. I'm not blasting anybody out on there. I'm just trying to give you an example. I think you can get testimonials that way. I think actually, talking to clients that they have had, maybe using Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and just, hey, so what were the pros and cons? What did you like? What did you not like? What worked for you and what didn't work for you? How was the communication? Was this person somebody you talked to when it was time to collect money, or was it you talked to them every week? How available they were. I mean, I think those are all big things to do, especially when some of these coaches are asking for $200-300 for sometimes even a month's worth of training.
I think another thing to do is consult with people that aren't the person you're trying to hire, because a lot of times you learn a lot about people in a particular industry by talking to their peers and their colleagues. You find out, actually everybody thinks this guy's a piece of shit. He's just really good at marketing, but he hasn't fooled the people who actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
So consulting even with people that you're not trying to hire, I think would be another good way to go as well.
So a new type of fad I'm also seeing, and I see this primarily on Instagram, are women lifters that do their glute progress pics, right? So it's like this, and it's a total ass in a...
We're a journey. We're a collection of the moments that...
And then at the bottom...
Hashtag bless.
At the bottom of this, it's some...
God made me who I am.
Bible verse. So, but one of the things I'm seeing are women that may genetically just be a little bit more fit than others. And, this whole big thing of like deadlifts and donuts are up. A female lifter is a lot different than a male lifter. Yeah. Their eating habits have to be a lot different. So you see some of these gals that take these glute progress pics, and then you look at the comments, and it'll be like, oh my God, what's your diet look like?
Donuts.
Oh, can you be my nutritionist? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And it isn't really necessarily they're doing anything special. Specifically, it's probably not the best thing to eat a donut first thing in the morning before you go and work out, but that's a whole nother topic. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I enjoy the pictures. That's the only reason I have an Instagram, but I think too, you see a lot of them, just a lot of the women going through it, especially on those pictures. They're not people who are always in the gym all the time too. Like you said, it's just, you get a lot of people who happen to have nice glutes, whether they work hard or not. It's really easy to fool people. That's what Instagram, Facebook kind of does. Is it's just one picture. This is all you get is that picture.
It's all about the life.
X-Pro 2.
Well, and to on another end of that is a woman's body changes throughout their life, whether they have kids, they don't have kids. If they're 18 or 32, there's a huge difference on how a woman's body looks. Not saying that if you had kids and you're 32 years old, you can't have a great looking body. I think you can, but there are some deciding factors in there that really kind of change potentially how a female could look.
Well, yeah, it kind of goes back to, same thing that people have been complaining about for years now. It's just unrealistic expectations and unrealistic body standards. Except now, thanks to Instagram, it's women that are perpetuating it themselves. And so you've got, somebody becoming famous for a bunch of ass shots, then apparently they're an expert. And we don't know what kind of nutrition protocol they're actually following, or if they follow anything. But you do a little bit of Photoshop, and all of a sudden you're a professional. It's the same as with online coaching.
Yeah, but that's kind of been, the backstory of any kind of supplement or magazine.
Oh, absolutely.
You look at a magazine, and you'll see Jay Cutler flexing on the front. Oh, if you take No Explode, you're gonna get ripped like me. And somebody's gonna walk by that and go, "Oh, it's that simple."
That's what I tried.
Yeah. He probably has never taken any of those products, and so it kind of just leads me to believe it's just whatever's right in front of you at that moment is what you're gonna decide to do or how you want to look.
That's the way we've kind of become, though, just as people in general now with all the Facebook. That's how we decide what we eat, where we go for dinner, what cool bar we're gonna check out. Because it's what's been put in front of us. It's not as much as, before we had all this connection between social media. You had to go somewhere. You had to physically go to the place, but, oh, this is a great place, or, oh, this is the gym I want to be at. Well, you can learn everything you so-called need to know on the internet. And so people get that expertise sort of feeling. Shit, I did it for this. I read up about podcasts. I'm an expert now because I read 5 web pages,
CrossFit certified. Check out this blog.
Well, that's I think you're absolutely right. And I think that when you are trying to pick a coach and stuff, you need to figure out what your goals are and have a direction of what you're trying to do. Because the guy who's a competitive bodybuilder is not necessarily who you want to go to if you want to be the best strongman you can be. And you don't want to go to the strongman to be the best bodybuilder you can be, or to be the fitness model, or to be this or that. So, I mean, there is a certain aspect of, I think people just too much get caught up into the physical appearance of things, like, oh, yeah, they look good, I want to look like that.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with wanting to go be a bodybuilder and, you know, looking good or, you know, whatever. But there is an aspect of figure out what you want to do in your chosen sport, like what sport, what direction you want to go. Because sure, you can look great, but you can't perform for anything and be like, okay, I want to go be a strongman. And you know, if you've never practiced anything and you're gonna just go jump into it, you know, I know a lot of guys have done that. That's what I did. I just like, oh, I'm gonna go try it. But there's a certain aspect of if you're gonna get online coaching, if you want to go to a coach, figure out the coach that is gonna fit what you're going for, what your goals are, and actually have a direction of what you're going for instead of just, I want to lose fat and shape muscle. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
What do you?
So maybe a recommendation.
So yeah, let's put together some criteria for like questions that you should ask if you're picking an online coach.
So I think the first thing, if you're looking to do an online coach, the very first thing out of the gate is maybe post something on social media. Hey, thinking about doing this.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on it? Anybody tried it? Success, pros and cons. And maybe when you start to get an outreach of people that it would be better suited to do private messaging with them so that you can get more of a realistic answer instead of, oh shit, I don't want this person to see this because I don't want to hurt their feelings. So let's make this a little more private so I can ask you these questions of, hey, so was this person really on top of things? Was it something where you didn't hear from them for a long time? One of the things we haven't really talked about yet, but are like the predators, right?
Yeah.
Guys that are like, hey, you know, send me your bikini pics or, you know, whatever. You know, how did they handle it?
I sent him, but I'm gonna need your bench. I'm gonna need your bench number. I'm gonna need an ass shot. I was like, I thought I wasn't supposed to use leg drive. Why do you need to see him?
So after you kind of have those follow-up questions, you're going to go and you've decided a program you're going to go with, reaching out to that person, we're going to talk to them first. I think that's my recommendation is, what are you going to be able to do for me? Not as far as, are you going to add 17% to my total, but what are you saying that you're going to do for me? We're going to talk once a week? Am I going to be able to call you whenever I'm in the gym and I'm struggling? Are you going to be available at 9 o'clock at night when I don't want to eat that last meal, but I'm forced to? You're going to tell me to pull my head out of my ass and do it? Are you going to be available via email whenever I have questions about lifts, or can I shoot you my videos so you can tear them apart? Are those all questions that seem legit that somebody should be able to answer?
Yeah,
absolutely.
What about the question why? Why should I choose your program over somebody else's? Do you think that should be...
Well, I feel that that's a really good one to be in the criteria. Like, you know, going along with the same, like, not only what do I get out of it, but why should I do it? And why are you writing this program for me? And I mean, even once you start having a coach, once you've gone through that whole basis of, you know, what are you going to do for me? What are you offering for me? You know, what are my goals? What are you going to give me? Once you've got that all lined out, be able to say, are you going to be there for me to ask you, why do you want me to do this? Why do you want me to do Larson pressing? Like, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I want to use my legs. Like, what? I don't want to do no legs. That's dumb. But I want, I want to
non-cheaters.
Right. But I want to be able to ask those questions of you and see, like, why do you want me to do this? Why do you want me to handle this? And why should I choose your program over, somebody else's program? Why is your program better than that program? For what my goals are? And I feel that you should be able to tell that coach what your goals are, and if they're kind of like, yeah, no problem, I got you. Okay, well, why do you got me? How do you got me? What are you going to do for me? Not just, yep, here you go. Here's my cookie cutter routine. I'll talk to you in 12 weeks.
Yep. Right.
Have a good time.
Well, you should also see what the follow-up questions they ask you are.
Right.
Because if they're going to write a program, you need a lot of information. And if your coach is like, all right, cool, you sign up, cool, here's your program.
Right.
And if they don't ask you anything, they probably aren't customizing jack shit.
Well, that's like what I try to do when I'm doing routines for people is it's like, what are your goals? What are you looking to do? What do you want to accomplish? How long do we have to do it? Are you planning on competing? When do you want to compete? Do you have a goal set up for when you want to compete, what you want to lift? Are your goals realistic? Is it like you're right now benching the bar and in 12 weeks you want to be benching 700 pounds? I'm sorry, it's not going to be very realistic. I'm not gonna, that's not gonna happen.
We have to think too. I mean, if you're somebody who's coming off the, just starting to work out. I mean, it's a lifestyle change. It's not just I'm adding an hour in the gym once a week. I mean, you have to change your lifestyle. So when you're looking at a coach, I mean, you want to look at this is a sponsor for you. This is somebody who's going to be working hard for you.
Right.
You want to make sure that, hey, if I'm having a rough day and I need to get in the gym, I mean, it's an addiction. You need to be able to make that call. And, hey, I need a little something extra to get me in there today. It's been a rough day. Give me that something. In the same way someone for AA would, I think I might go to a bar. You have to change your lifestyle. You can't just add it in. It's a lifestyle change. So you need somebody to be there for you. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can do it wrong, you can hurt yourself,
right.
Or you can just give up midway through and just
by trying to take on too much, which is I think what a lot of people do is they're like, all right, I want to change this one thing, so they try and expect to overhaul their entire life just because they decided to do it this time, and they get overwhelmed and flustered and then quit a week later. So having that kind of that guidance to know, let's take one thing at a time. If you're trying to train consistently, you've never done that, let's worry less about the program. Let's give you something that you can get in a couple times a week. Right. Prove to me that you can do that for a few weeks, and then we'll add the next piece in.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think what would be interesting is to kind of do a little bit of research independently on this. A little bit of maybe starting a poll. And maybe we could do it on Facebook of just, hey, what kind of routines have you tried? What success have you had? And maybe that's something we could have, just a little review area of hey, this is some things that we're suggesting based on what experiences other people have had.
Yeah.
Post up an actual kind of checklist of going through picking a coach, and then actually have a review section to be hey, post up your reviews, your honest comments.
Yeah, and I think that's something maybe to be able to offer to people. They could stop by and say, hey, I just want to look at, these guys have 30 different reviews on 30 different programs. I want to be able to look at it and see maybe what's going to be suited for me. Because maybe if you want that bikini look and you want the glute progress pics,
right.
Maybe there is a coach out there that's going to get you there. If you want, an 800-pound squat, you want to learn how to overtrain and have
get wrapped up and wad all over the place. Every wall balls.
So many wads.
Do you have extra water jugs with you in the car?
Yeah. This shit's gluten-free.
Yeah, I said that
gluten free.
Yeah, it's
is it paleo?
It's got 100% magnesium.
Say that in your black white guy voice.
So
it's gluten free.
So maybe that's something.
How to get all the glutens out of this?
Maybe that's something we can kind of add in, as a little follow up in a few weeks. Is just kind of other reviews that we've had, either good or bad.
Right.
So real quick too, before we move on, where would somebody find that at? You said on Facebook. What's the Facebook page we're looking for?
We're gonna go to ChalkTalk.
Chalk.
There's an H in there. Are you sure
Chalk.
there's an H in there?
Yes. Chalk.
CHALK.
Got it.
TALK.
I'm not gonna lie.
I had to think.
I was promoting a totally different page for the last 2 weeks. ChalkTalk.
All right. Well,
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Shit.
So go to ChalkTalk, the page on Facebook. And we'll start posting some reviews there, kind of make it a little bit of a hub for people to, so they can check it out first before they make any decisions. And maybe just being able to reach out to the four of us and say, hey, what are your personal opinions on this? What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, we can kind of build that community too, because our largest part of our goal with this is to kind of bring all of you guys together. Because
all seriously, you can't say that.
All of you. God damn it. You sexist, gentrified, body shaming son of a bitch.
Guys.
All of you you're right, because...
Whoa.
You can't say people.
Allow me to rephrase. What we would like to do with Chalk Talk, the program, is create a hub where people of every gender and ethnicity and sexual orientation can come together.
Scratch that last part.
Well, the funniest thing, that's the whitest voice we've heard this entire time.
The struggle is real.
That's all we need to do is bring everyone together. That's what we're going to do. All right.
Want some mayonnaise?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Q&A. We posted up a Q&A on the Chalk Talk page.
After sifting through hundreds of questions since we posted this yesterday, we have selected 2.
And the first one is to incline or not to incline. And I'm assuming they're talking about incline press.
Probably. You incline squat ever?
No, I don't know.
That's called the hop squat.
Yeah, the hop squat.
It's like, whoops. So, the incline press. Can you hide wrist wraps in the incline press? I don't know. So, the incline press, here's some thoughts on, for me, I actually really enjoy doing the incline press. And it's a pretty big staple in my training. However, it is a lift that I do when I'm far out from a competition. I never do an incline press in any part of my training if I'm like 8 weeks out from a competition. Maybe even sometimes 12, depending on what my goals are. The reason because I think there you have the risk to benefit ratio, right? And there's other ways I can hit those muscle groups without having any risk. I think
Smith machine.
yeah, the ab roller actually. So I think incorporating the incline press, and maybe you'll disagree with me because you were talking shit about it earlier.
Yeah.
I think the incline press is a good tool to have when you're, 3 months or more out from an actual contest. Now, if you're somebody who's competing like T. Cummings, right? He trains 9 times in 1 week and then competes every other weekend. If you're that guy, you don't want to hit the incline too often, or maybe even at all, because he's got to stay healthy. He's in great shape. Yeah. He's hitting huge numbers. Huge props to T. Cummings, but he's got to be careful with adding some of these lifts into his routine because he can't get hurt.
So for me, I think for me, generally speaking, I like to do the incline press. I enjoy it, but I do pause reps on my incline. And for me, it's more of doing an overhead accessory and looking at it from the standpoint of I don't want to necessarily every week do a heavy log or a heavy axle or really heavy lifts like that. So.
And this is coming from the guy with a 440 bench.
So that works well.
Well, my overhead's probably better than my bench. But anyway, when it comes to doing my overhead pressing, I don't always want to be doing really heavy presses. So sometimes I'll just go on the incline and do those paused incline reps to help build up that front delt and build up that pressing power and build that whole shelf area a little bit better by building up my chest a little bit and everything else. So I can get a better rack position for my log, get a better rack position for my axle, get it up in that position a little bit better without always having to overload by holding weight here. I'll just have that, nice little reclining, or sitting back, watching TV, lifting up some weight.
You know what I started incorporating with my incline pressing is the Spoto press. So stopping it just a few inches from your chest and actually pausing it there for a second and then pressing as hard as you can.
That's always felt better on my shoulders.
Yeah. And for me personally, I like to go really narrow on the incline, but it's a huge transition from going from benching and then going straight to incline. So, kind of my recommendation would be is to go super light at first. I don't ever see a need to go and test your 1 rep max on the incline. 3 reps should be the as low as you go. You agree with that?
I generally, from doing my strongman standpoint, if I'm doing incline, generally for me, I'll go to only like 5 reps.
Yeah.
But I try to keep it a little bit heavier, so I'm getting that overload training, getting that cardio endurance, that muscular endurance of being able to press a lot more weight for reps when I'm doing, if I'm doing a clean and press away, so I clean the weight up here and I'm pressing, I don't have to worry about stabilizing or anything because I'm on the bench, but I can still work on that endurance. And that's why, for me, what I generally do is I'll pause it on my chest because I'm working on coming from that dead stop to pressing it overhead. And then bring it back down, pause for a second, explode up. Just because I'm trying to get that, build up that whole ability to really press it out really good and get that good lockout, without having to be here and stabilize my back and stabilize my core and is everything good here and okay, I'm pressing weight over my head. Oh, I didn't do it right. I just smashed my head and now I'm passed out and I'm taking a nap.
So one of the things I like about
graphic story, right?
One of the things I like about the incline is I actually get to use leg drive on the incline, right? So it's like a whole new world for me as far as pressing is concerned. But going in the gym and watching people, you see them typically pressing so hard with their feet. They have their butt so high in the air. It's almost a regular bench.
Yeah, they're all doing a regular bench.
So what's your recommendation for that? You see
for me, generally, I try to use limited leg drive when I'm doing my incline press because of what I'm trying to do.
I've got this ass backwards.
So if I Larson incline press, can I rename it to Jaron press?
Yeah, of course. But of course, I'll use a little bit of leg drive, but I'm trying to limit my leg drive on my incline press because I'm just trying to really work on that pressing motion for trying to overload the front delts in my chest by really just working on that press. And I'm not so much concerned about trying to get the legs into it. If I want to use my legs for, because, and again, it's what I'm trying to do with it, which is in a way simulating my overhead pressing without having to do the overhead press. And if I want to just use my leg drive, then I'm just going to go to push press or push jerk to get my legs into it, and work on that technique a lot more. And I don't do incline very much, but I like to use it like, I'm a little bit beat up today, like I just did a heavy squat day the day before, or a heavy deadlift day, so my back is just a little bit thrashed and I'm just a little bit beat up. I'll use the incline on those days so I can still get my pressing day in without having to tax my whole lower body by trying to balance that weight.
All right, so the next question is, do you recommend dynamic bench sessions? And if so, what percentage is optimal?
Never!
Never. Now, I'm not trying to plug the Alpha Project, but
the Alpha Project.
But let me reference what I wrote in the Alpha Project.
from
So
my
there's an
personal,
ebook available.
If you want, I could be like your hype girl.
my personal experience with doing dynamic work is it's just too much on your body to do a max effort training session and a dynamic session in the same week, right? And so essentially, I've gone away from having like a dynamic type training. All of your training should be dynamic, right? Ultimately, we want as much speed and explosiveness off your chest as possible. So when you do the bi-weekly flop of heavy and light, on your lighter week, you're only working up to maybe 75%, but you're working on fixing your technique, and the weight is heavy enough to feel it, but it's light enough that if you're not tucking your elbows, you're not flaring them at the right time, you can make those adjustments. You can work on your leg drive. You can work with different grips to see what works best for you. So it's not really a dynamic workout because every movement you do should be with as much force as possible.
Yeah. Well, I found, because I've tried that on a good number of occasions, and I've found that it's too light, so it doesn't challenge my technique, so I don't become that much better at pressing, because if I'm working in that 60-ish% range, I can fuck up and still move the weight pretty quickly, and I don't really have to do it right, so it didn't ever really make me a better bench presser. And the fact that I was then probably not using as good of technique, but then trying to move the weight quickly, plus then having a second pressing movement in the same plane of motion as my main bench day, my shoulders got worked to hell.
Right.
Because all my pressing then was just this way. I didn't have any overhead work because that was my second pressing day. So my shoulders didn't really get any stronger. They just got more worn out. My tendonitis got worse. So I just never really got a whole lot out of that.
We talked about this the other day. One of my biggest problems, and this is from the way that I trained for so many years, kind of doing the modified West Side approach, right, is that I get to a certain spot and I only press as hard as I have to. You don't press as hard as you should, right? I should approach every time I go to the bench as if it was 600 pounds, but I don't, right? When I would open up at, or start off at maybe 135 or 225 to do some dynamic work, maybe add little mini bands or whatever. I'm only pressing as hard as I need to. I'm maybe pressing as if it was 440 versus 600. That's how it's supposed to be done. And I think it's really hard to try to push something as hard as you need to if you don't have to.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about that yesterday, and I just find that the big part of your program is just starting with that heavier weight, not touching anything that's light, because our goal is to press the most amount of weight. Why practice with shit that's not going to have any carryover?
Right.
And I've noticed a huge difference from that one thing alone. Everything else has also been great, but the mere fact that I don't have sets that I don't take 100% seriously has made a big difference for me, because everything is done correctly, and I don't ever kind of half-ass press or see how things are feeling, or now I'm just going to hit 25 reps with the bar to warm up my shoulders. By the time I've done that, I'm 30 reps in before I get to my first working set, and none of them have really counted for anything or made me try that hard.
Yeah. Another question. Slingshot. Is it more beneficial to add volume, lightweight volume, or go heavy and do overload pressing?
I personally like to do more of the overload pressing with the pause on it, that bring it down, pause for a second, and really explode up. So I get used to moving fast and trying to move that weight fast, and it gives me just that little bounce off of that little bit to get it moving, to start to build that momentum. But it really gets me more confident handling that heavier load and handling the heavier weights. To me, if I'm going to go lightweight and do reps, why don't I just do reps? Why do I need a slingshot to really get reps? I mean, that's just my opinion. I prefer to use it just for the overload training.
One of the things I've noticed is people that do a lot of volume with the slingshot, specifically if power is what you're going after, doing high volume in a slingshot is as hard on your body as overloading.
Yeah.
So if you're technically speaking, today's my light day, I'm only working up to 65%, but I'm going to throw 225 on and I'm going to try to do 100 reps with a slingshot, that's as hard on your body as going as heavy as you could.
Yeah.
So it's really not a week of rest. It's not a week to get ready for your next heavy session. So there's that kind of misconception of, but I got the slingshot on, so I'm not pressing as hard. But it still messes with your body.
I like it for both. I like it for overloads on the heavy day to kind of get used to handling heavier weight, obviously doing that with a pause. But I also like using it as an accessory movement, sometimes in place of like a close grip bench, or if I've got somebody who, for whatever reason, has a psychological barrier with a certain weight, I might throw the slingshot on them and have them hit a set of 5 with a weight that they're otherwise getting an ugly single or double. If I know they're capable of doing better than what they're currently doing, then I'll have them throw it on for that. But I also like it as just kind of a secondary assistance movement in that like 5-ish rep range.
We should make Josh do the slingshot maybe next week.
Yeah, you could try that.
He's never tried it, so maybe.
That's why I'm sitting over here quietly, because what do I bench? I don't know. When's the last time I've been in the gym?
I did 6-minute abs in 4 minutes, motherfucker.
Can't get abs in 4 minutes.
I've been doing some Tae-Bo at home on TV. That's about it, man.
My wad's paleo. All right, well, let's look at Matt Phelps' video.
All right.
So Matt Phelps went to a competition a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. Matt Phelps is a good friend of mine. Lives up in Spokane. He's a strong lifter. He so he opens up, I believe, at 540, hits it solid. During his 540, his thumb loop on his wrist straps broke. So
should have been using it anyways.
He just manually held onto it and rewrapped his wrist, right? Goes up to 560, which is manageable weight for him. He's right around a 560, 565 raw bencher. Comes off his chest, gets the press command, comes up about halfway, and it falls. And hits him in his chest. I watched the video, I almost pissed myself. And he gets up and he's having a tough time breathing, and I'll go down.
Oh, there it is. Not suicide grip.
I would say too, this is a video I also watch this one, and yeah, I mean I cringe every time.
Matt is a strong ass guy, right? 560 for him is nothing. I tried to call him after I saw his video and he didn't answer his phone, and I was actually pissed off that he didn't answer because I was like, shit, did he die?
Sure. Yeah.
One of the things I want you guys to look at is Ryan Kennelly's face here.
Oh!
Oh. Every time I see that, it makes me cringe, right? He like pulls.
Yeah.
He pulls.
Yeah.
But listen to him.
Oh.
That's him breathing.
Jeez.
Ow.
Man.
So, one of the things, him and I talked about this, it wasn't that wasn't like a technique problem. It wasn't a lack of experience. It was just, it just happened, right?
Luck.
Yeah, you can't prevent that from happening. It was such heavy weight for him too. That's it. You think with that kind of weight falling that far on, could that kill somebody?
Oh, easy.
Yeah, easily.
Easy.
I'd say he's a tough son of a bitch to be getting up and standing after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He benched like 5 days later, right?
That's absolutely nuts.
I remember when I was a geared lifter, back when I first started, I dropped, 600 pounds, but it was really close to my chest. It was something where, as I started coming up, the gear folded me this way and the bar landed on me. And I was mentally screwed up over that for weeks. Weeks.
Yeah.
It sucked to bench. I can see this stuff now and I laugh at it, now that I know Matt's okay.
Yeah,
I know he's good to go.
Yeah.
I'll laugh at it. I'm going to make fun of it, You're supposed to press up, not down.
Well, in general, you hold on to the bar. You don't throw it on yourself.
Next
Yeah.
episode, online spotters.
But think that just a few days later he was back benching again, and it was like no big deal.
Ow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Maybe he should take up CrossFit.
Yeah. So if you
They
can
don't
always
lift that
come
heavy
down to
at
my
all.
gym.
It'd be way safer.
Oh, we do it. We do all the time.
Come on. Tuck toner.
We do have a shake weight.
I think that's all we got for this episode.
That's about it. I think anything else we say is just going to be a pile of shit.
Yeah.
So how do people get a hold of us?
How do people get a hold of us? They get a hold of us on the internet.
All right. See you guys later.
See ya.
So look for us
Online
at
training.
Chalk Talk on Facebook. Look at Alpha Project on Facebook. On Twitter at Alpha_Project. Check me out on Twitter, JLarson2498.
So where did you get the 2498 from?
Yeah, why is that a thing?
That
Are
was
you
my
gang affiliated?
Yeah.
right.
Calm down, Slim Shady.
No, that was like an old phone number from way back in the day.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are the last 4 digits, and to be honest, I've used that one since high school, and so I've just never given it up. I also didn't realize, like on Twitter, that you could put something a little cooler besides just your name as your screen name. I just said, "Oh, I'll put my name in there." So I'm the jackass with JLarson2498 instead of something funnier. But
Okay. Jeff, what about you, man?
I'm. You can get me on at Ragnarok on Instagram.
You should spell that. Because I tried to tag you and it was like Rangavok. I was like, I don't even know what that means.
RAGNAVOK. RAGNAVOK.
So you can't even spell it.
Yeah.
You're also available on Third World Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah. So thirdworldgirls.com. You go there and you just
Beerfest.org.
But I'm on at Ragnarok on Twitter, on my Instagram,
Meatmuffin.com.
on my YouTube is Ragnarok. Everything on all my online stuff is Ragnarok. You can message me on Facebook under Jeff Pearson, JEFFPEARSON.
Okay.
So it's basically Pearson.
Person.
Yeah. But yeah, just go ahead and hit me up. My email is just ragnavok@gmail.com. So you go ahead and email me if you got any questions. If you want to just let me know what's up.
What's your address and typical work schedule?
So my social security number.
You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Jaron Carriage. That's JeronKerridge. That is a very inconvenient name.
Wow.
On so many levels. Jaron Carriage on Facebook, my YouTube channel. Just search Savage Gym and you will find it. Everything that you need to find me on is those 3 things. If you Google anything else, you're going to find a bunch of things from back in the early 2000s I'm not proud of. So.
Well, you can always just come to my gym. I'm always at Interbeast CrossFit. Just come by and I'll
do some
torture you.
wads.
Oh yeah, well, I'm always at Savage Gym, so that's where you can find me, SavageGym.com.
If you need to get a hold of me, you just send a fucking smoke signal.
Just
No,
take
you
a
can,
So what you do is you go and you look for the sex offender registry. He's the yellow dot.
You can go to the Alpha Project training.org. You can also reach me on Facebook under Adrian Larson or the Alpha Project, and then also Chalk Talk and
ChalkTalk 503 on Instagram.
Boom.
Yeah.
I had to add the 503. Somebody took ChalkTalk in every other version I could think of. Assholes. The real one is ChalkTalk 503. Also on YouTube.
Yeah, just look for the jerk off video.
Yeah. Guaranteed they won't be doing it.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we thank our sponsors for giving us this opportunity. Mark Bell, the Slingshot. He's kind of one that invented all this for everybody. The Meathead Millionaire, Mark Smelly Bell, and then also Vizo. Thanks for giving us something to get us jacked up and ready to go.
Yeah, I've had to pee for like 15 minutes, so
Me too.
this has been great.
And hey, too, if there's something you guys want to hear, you want to see us talk about, go to Chalk Talk, message us, let us know. We want ideas. Us meatheads can come up with a few ideas, but we do need a little assistance. If there's things you want to hear, tell us. Let us know.
Well, we also on the Chalk Talk, we're going to always have our post up. If you have any questions you want to send our way, just go ahead and send a question, and we'll go ahead and answer it for you, and just basically make a.
I can't believe the
Fun
2
readers
dumbest guys actually came up with that.
Every single week, we will have a Q&A. We're going to post a thread on the official Chalk Talk Facebook page. Post your questions there. We will address the best ones. If you have a shitty question, we probably won't answer it. But we're going to post those each week. Also, we're going to be doing a segment starting next week called Lift Rescue. So if you have a lift that you are struggling with, send us a video of it, and we will coach it.
No, we're not going to coach. I'm going to make fun of it.
We're going to make fun of it, and then...
Which is pretty similar to your
And then that'll be the end of the segment.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Have you ever been shamed publicly on the internet?
Well, do we have a deal for you?
So if you're ready to get blasted by 4 fat guys sitting in a jet, waiting for the fire marshal to show up, just send them over.
But seriously, don't send them over. None of
That's
this
a
is
bad
legal.
idea.
I want to get and fined. All right, that's a wrap.
Suck it.